Hey everybody, John Granado and Lance Zerline. Mornings, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. That's where you can hear us. You can see us right here at SportsMap HOU. So hit subscribe so you get all of our content here at SportsMap HOU. Lance, World Series is here, okay? How do you like the pitching for – obviously, the Astros have the edge. They have Wheeler and Nola, though. I mean, those two guys have been money and awesome thus far this postseason. Still – advantage Astros.
Advantage Astros because once you get past Wheeler and Nola, they don't have what the Astros have. They don't have Javier. They don't have Lance McCullers. And they don't have the Astros bullpen. The Astros bullpen's the best in baseball right now. I do think from a hitting standpoint, an argument could be made. That is a hotter hitting team than the Astros. That argument can definitely be made. They've got 3 or 4 guys you really have to be concerned about that have some pop as well. And we've seen this. This is not something that's unusual. Sometimes Jordan can be a little bit dormant. We saw it in the Yankees series where he was dormant in Game 3 of Seattle, and then for the better part of the entire series against the Yankees.
No, he wasn't really. He didn't really show
Altuve, an all-time bad hitting slump we saw in the postseason. So I think that's a little bit of a concern. You had Bregman, you had Machete, you had Pena pull it together, but you need more from Tucker. You need your big boys to step up against Philadelphia. But ultimately, John, I think once you get to games 3 and games 4, that's where the benefit, and then you get into innings 7, 8, 9, that's where the Astros have that benefit is. And they've been there, done that. It's a roster full of guys who have some playoff experience and even World Series experience. So, no, the Phillies have a lot of what the Astros have. They just don't maybe have quite as much of it.
I don't know. We've talked to a bunch of guys about this, about the layoff. I'm not crazy about it again, but it's for both teams. At least they're not sitting there playing while the Astros aren't. And their bats were, like you said, red hot. The Astros bats are not red hot. So maybe that cools off just a little bit. You just hope that the pitchers have all of their command, because if they don't, they've got guys in the lineup that are going to make – Schwarber's going to make you pay. Hoskins going to make you pay. Real Muto makes you pay. Castellanos makes you pay. Harper makes you pay. All of those guys make you pay. The Astros have it as well. They've got a bunch of guys that can make you pay. Do you feel like the layoff is going to affect the game either way?
No, not really. I do think there are individual players. The layoff hurt Christian Javier to an extent. I mean, he gave up one hit against the Yankees, but he had 3 walks, so he was a little wild in the zone. You look at pitchers, you look at Lance McCullers, you look at Framber. Framber's good. It's a little bit of time off for Framber. Framber will not have pitched for quite a while by the time it's ready for him to pitch. Yeah, I mean,
same.
It's the same. It's the same for them, but it's the same for some of the Astros pitchers. I think for the hitters, it gives you a chance to reset. Of course, you want Pena to carry that same confidence into the postseason. But to your point, I think it might be better to cool off Philadelphia to get some separation from their red hot bats and let the Astros. And now that is something to keep an eye on, though. Philadelphia has a flair for the dramatic. We've seen that in the postseason right now. They've had some guys step up and make some big things happen late in games. Of course, the Astros have been excellent at that since 2017. So the layoff, I don't think it's going to change what we see from a baseball standpoint. And if anything, maybe it helps get Jose Altuve right. Maybe he has time to find out what he's doing.
Well, let's talk about Altuve on the other side. But first, a quick word from Access Vascular Health. This is the greatest time ever to have an enlarged prostate because of your procedure, isn't it?
So the prostate artery embolization is an alternative to the traditional surgery. What I do is I place an IV, the same thing you get in your arm or your wrist at the hospital. So I inject microscopic beads to slow down that blood flow to what a normal prostate requires, and the prostate shrinks in response.
So simple, so easy. The procedure is basically a long lunch, isn't it?
It's true. It's about 45 minutes. You'll hang out with me afterwards for about 30 minutes, and then you're on your way home.
If you think you have an enlarged prostate, one place to go, 975prostate.com. Thank you, Dr. Manavis. Right now, Lance, Altuve's got to get going. I mean, you got to have that catalyst, don't you? We know, we've seen Pena. He's been great. Bregman has been great. Yuli has been great. Basically, that's been about it in the lineup for holy cow. Well, Jordan, he cooled off mightily against the Yankees, but if they're going to get, I don't think they can withstand Altuve being what Altuve was for 0 for 23.
It's going to be tough
they can.
because Altuve lost his confidence, and when he does, it gets into his head a little bit. I do like his approach at the plate against the Yankees. He started to be more selective. We saw him go the other way with the ball. He had a hard hit shot that turned into a double play that Gleyber Torres made at one point. It was a very, very good play, but it was a hard hit.
But that was the right side as well.
Yeah,
everything that he's hitting now is the right side.
So we're seeing some things that I kind of like from him. How will Philadelphia approach Jordan? Up in the zone with fastballs. Had some success. The Yankees had some success with some pitchers doing that against them. That's why it's so important, when Jordan gets a pitch to hit, to be on it. And that's one thing that the Astros all year long, a lot more pop-up centric. And part of it is their approach. They've changed launch angles over the years to try to hit more home runs, but a lot more pop-ups and a lot less putting the ball in play than we've seen in the past. They don't strike out a ton, so that's still obviously a huge advantage. But this series, to me, for me, John, this is really about, we can talk about the X's and O's and getting Altuve started. I think for me, the real the baseball centric, but not on, but between the lines, is Dusty Baker. Is Dusty Baker winning a World Series as a manager? He's a guy that's galvanized. We've had conversations about him. It wasn't that long ago. We did a Sports Map video where we said, Dusty, be better if he left and you have Joe Espada in to take over his spot so you don't lose a younger guy. But the fact is, the players love Dusty, and they're playing for Dusty right now. They want to win this for Dusty, and I think that's a really fun thing to watch, because watching Dusty celebrate when they won the ALCS and they were headed to the World Series, I had such a fun time watching the excitement and happiness on Dusty's face.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I'd love to see this for Dusty, man. I can't wait. I want to see him in a parade and just laughing and having the best darn time, because that guy certainly deserves it. One more thing to talk about, I think it's fielding. I think the Astros have another huge edge. Hoskins is not a good first baseman. Second base, Altuve is really, really good. Shortstop, Pena could be a Gold Glove this year. Bregman has been great. Behind the plate, Maldonado and Vasquez have both been great. We know you don't run on Jordan. Center field might not be where your best. Tucker is a Gold Glove finalist as well. I think the Astros, and it proved out in the Yankee series how fielding can kill you. If the Astros have a big edge defensively, they got a ground ball pitcher in Fromber, and obviously you pitch to contact with Verlander, and he's a fly ball pitcher, which could be dangerous in this series. But I love the Astros defensively in this thing, especially if we're going to hit some low scoring games here.
Yeah, and the Astros put the ball in play for the most part, so that's. You would think that leads to that advantage as well. And yes, the Astros defensively do have an advantage. I think Jordan, the range has looked a little diminished in the postseason to me. He's not going to get to as many balls as I'm not sure how they're going to handle in Philadelphia if maybe Jordan's DHing and they have someone else out there in the outfield. Aledmus Diaz would probably give you a better look defensively, but he's gone bye-bye in the series. So will Dusty try to reincorporate him from a defensive standpoint? Mancini doesn't have great range out there in left field as well if you were to play him there. So there's some interesting things in terms of it would be, boy, right now is the time where you realize I am so glad. I grew up a National League guy. You grew up an American League guy, and then you came to the Astros, which is a National League team for a long time. But I'm glad we have DH, because I would hate to have to see the Astros' really good starters being pinch hit for an inning before you really wanted them to. Yep. I love the fact that Lance McCullers stayed in the game. In years prior, Lance McCullers probably would have been pinch hit for, and he would have been out after 3 innings. Instead, he stayed in the game, did his job, or did a pretty good job for the most part. Lance ended up getting touched up a little bit. But that's a big advantage at the Astros starting pitchers. There is no more worries about having to pinch hit for these guys.
No, absolutely not. And they got the best stuff. They're so deep, so good. So yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be a fun series. I think it's going to go 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And it's another National League East team. So I mean, we've seen that before with the Braves last year, the Nationals 3 years ago. I got to take this. You cannot be overconfident with this one. Those National League East teams have been a pain, and hopefully this Phillies team will go away. They can go away quickly, but I don't think so. I think this is going to be a long series.